Welcome back, everyone, to the Niner Empire Show. This is going to be episode four. We have been on a little hiatus to our 50 viewers, so appreciate y'all coming back. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about the Niner schedule. It got released last week, and we want to give our thoughts on the schedule, the matchups, the travel time, and just kind of get some predictions in. We'll go game by game, record predictions, and stuff like that. And we'll just see how it goes. So just to recap, or not to recap, introduce ourselves again. I'm Kenny, I'm the host, and I'm joined by Addison. He's our analyst. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's start with, do you want to start with game by game, or do you want to just do what we think the record prediction is going to be
We could do record prediction, I think. Um,
first? Okay.
I mean, just to
It's going to
recap,
have to match up technically.
yeah, just to recap the order of games, we got the Rams in Australia week one, week two, we got the Dolphins, week three, the Cardinals, week four, the Broncos, week five, Seattle, week six, the Commanders, seven, we have the Falcons, eight, we have the Raiders, nine, we have the Cowboys, 10, the Vikings, 11, the Seahawks again, 12, the Giants, 13, the Rams again, 14, the Chargers, 15, the Chiefs, 16, the Eagles, and then our 17th game is going to be the Cardinals.
Okay.
If we're talking record prediction, I think that we start the season strong. Um, four of our first, or three of our first four games are home games. I don't see us losing to the Dolphins or Cardinals at home. Um, I think that the Rams game in Australia obviously is kind of a toss-up. We'll see how that goes. Broncos at home will be a toss-up. Week five against Seattle, I think that's a game that we could probably expect to lose. Um, Commanders at home, I expect us to win. Falcons, I think that'll be a tough game, but I do expect us to win. Raiders, we're definitely going to beat them. Cowboys, that could be a tough game, but I expect us to win. Vikings, that's another 50-50 for me. Seahawks and Rams again in those next 3 weeks are 50-50s. Giants, that's a game that I'm scared for, not because of the Giants, but because of their stadium. Chargers, Chiefs, Eagles, that's a pretty tough stretch to end the season, but I do think that we could win two of those three games. And then Cardinals should be another easy win.
Okay.
Um, for me, for my record prediction, I think that if we stay healthy and we play at our best on the field, we could go 14-3. Absolute worst, I think we go is probably around 10-7. I think the games we absolutely should win. Home game versus Miami, home versus Arizona, home versus Washington, game in Atlanta, home against the Raiders, game in Dallas, the game in New York, the game in Los Angeles versus the Chargers, the game at home versus Philly, and the game in Arizona to end the season. That right there already is what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. That's 10 wins already right there. I think those are games that we can feel comfortable saying we're gonna win. Um, Miami, Arizona, those three wins right there are gonna be relatively easy because those teams are not that good. The Raiders, depending on how they look this season, they could be above people's expectations, I think. I think they could be a team that comes close to being 500. But I do think that we'll handle them. Um, when you think about the way that Clint Kubiak kind of dissected Kyle Shanahan's offenses, or not offenses, but like the 49ers defenses in the past few seasons, it's always come with a strong running game.
Hmm.
I think that with Ashton Genty and the running back they drafted out of Arkansas, they're definitely going to have a strong backfield. But I do think that wide receiver room is still pretty weak. I think it's going to be a less stacked offense than Seattle, obviously, personnel wise. So I do think it will be easier to stop their run game, a little bit more predictable. Um, I think we'll beat Dallas, obviously. Um, Dallas, we seem to just have their number, you know. I think that's a rivalry where we kind of have the mental game won. And then the games like New York and the Chargers, those are talented teams. Even Atlanta and Washington, those are talented teams, but I don't think that from the perspective of personnel and coaching, that they even come close to the 49ers or how we should be with this roster.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, kind of similar to Dallas, we kind of have the mental game won against them. If they lose AJ Brown, that's just another weapon that we don't have to worry about on that team. Obviously, they drafted Mekhi Lemon, so we have to see how good he'll be in his rookie season. But Jalen Hurts, it seems like we know how to scheme against him and kind of neutralize his strengths. Um, so yeah, I think those are 10 games that we should win, in my opinion. Now the games I think we're going to lose. I think we can definitely say we're probably going to drop one to both the Rams and the Seahawks,
Yeah,
respectfully. The Chiefs, we always
yeah,
fucking
it's
lose to them, so
we're 0 and 5 with Kyle Shanahan.
yeah. So I think that that'll be tough, obviously. Um, with the Rams and the Seahawks, I think that at worst we could get beaten twice by them. But I do think it's probably likely we split with the Rams and maybe get beat twice by the Seahawks. We struggle against the Chiefs, specifically Spags' defensive scheme.
Yeah.
So I think that's a game where Brock Purdy, he played well in the Super Bowl. He didn't turn the ball over. Um, Otherwise, our offense in general, it seems like it's more of a coaching problem against Spags. It seems like he knows how to stop a Kyle Shanahan offense, and even when we don't turn the ball over, we struggle to score.
Yep.
Um, 50-50 games, I had the two Rams or the Rams and Seahawks games, obviously. At home versus Denver. Now, I lean more towards us winning that game, but would I be surprised if we lost a defensive battle against them? Not really.
Hmm.
Best cornerback in the NFL. They have one of the best secondaries. They have a great D line. So we'll see how that goes. Minnesota, I'm kind of leaning towards us losing only because Brock Purdy turns the ball over crazy against Brian Flores defenses. Historically, he has not played well against those defenses.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, if I had to predict, I would say in that range between 14-3 and 10-7, knowing how health goes for us usually, maybe something like 12-5 or 11-6 is more realistic.
Hmm.
But I would not be surprised at all if we were a one seed this year with the type of roster that we have right now.
Good points. I think um I have at best, I think we go 13 and 4. At worst, probably 9 and 8.
Hmm.
I think the Niner seasons are always this is one of the things where on paper, and I know we talked about it before off podcast, um, but there is a stretch of games where the Niners could completely fall apart. And just given the injury history that this team goes through, um, if it does get to because the back half of the season is scary. I mean, it goes after the bye. I mean, there's a couple ones in there like the Raiders and the Giants and the Cardinals there, but you're playing at Dallas, you're playing the Vikings at Minnesota. You had the Seahawks, you have the Rams, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Like these are all games where if you lose one, maybe two in a row, like you could just keep losing,
Hmm.
especially given the amount of injuries that we typically have, especially later on in the season, right?
100%.
Um, the counter to that, and I think that we have seen historically in Niner seasons, is that they gain momentum in November and December. And even last year, like we went on a really good winning streak going into the playoffs. I think it really gave us kind of even with the injuries. Um, Now part of that was also that our schedule and that back half of the season last year was really easy. We had like 4 games in a row which were pretty much just like free wins.
Hmm.
We went like Browns, Titans. I don't even remember it was. It was easy. It wasn't hard. But this schedule on paper definitely looks a little bit more intimidating. And even though I think we have more talent this year and we have filled in some gaps, there's definitely still some opportunities where our roster, especially in terms of the talent that we have, a lot of our talent is on the older side. And that is a concern when we're playing our hardest teams later on in the season, when our stars are our oldest players. Um, because I definitely think the season starts off strong. I mean, we can easily go 5-0 in the first one, two, three. Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, there's 2 games in there that I think, three maybe. 5-3 heading into the bye, I think is probably realistic. But there's
Hmm.
a possibility you go 8-0. Um,
Agree.
so I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting season. The travel time, I think we want to talk about the travel time real quick. We're the team that's traveling the most, 38,000 miles,
Hmm.
is outrageous for a football team. A lot of that has to do with going to Australia. Um, and I think, but also a lot of our away games are not like close. They are cross-country trips.
Yeah.
Um, but it's going to be really interesting. Specifically, I know there's been some talk about with Week 1 and George Kittle and Nick Bosa coming back and how aviation can pressure can affect ligament injuries.
Hmm.
And so there's definitely some concern given the fact that our first game is an international game, whether or not two of our star players are even going to play Week 1,
Hmm.
right? So. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be an interesting season. Um, record like schedule predictions at the beginning are always really interesting because we just really don't know what how teams are going to play. Um,
Yeah.
and also the team that you're going to play at that point in the season, I think is also a huge factor,
Hmm.
right? Like you could see a team like early on in the schedule, like maybe the Cardinals are bad at the beginning, but maybe by the time we face them in week 18 when it's really important, maybe they've gotten some legs and they've figured out some things and they're
Yeah.
actually a really good football team,
Hmm.
right? Um, it's a game of runs in the NFL. People go on win streaks and find a groove and go from there, or they fall apart. So um, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting season for sure.
I think also on the travel point, like if we think about it location wise, right? Like we're gonna be playing Atlanta, and then we have a bye week in week 7 and week 8, and then we're going back to Las Vegas, and then we're going back to Texas, and then we're going to Minnesota, and then we're going back to the West Coast to Seattle, and then we're going all the way to New York, and then we're going all the way back to Los Angeles, and then 2 weeks later we're going to Kansas City, back to the West Coast. It's just a lot of going cross country, going back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that is nice is that some of these teams that we're playing that would be kind of farther away, we're playing them at home, like Miami. That's definitely a nice game to have at home, knowing that we're playing in Australia the week before and we don't have to go all the way to Florida. One game I have circled just out of like concern because of our history playing in the stadium is Week 13 versus the Giants. MetLife Stadium has taken many ACLs and Achilles over the
Should
years.
we do let's do a prediction of who's the ACL that gets torn this season?
Somebody's ACL is getting torn at MetLife. It's dependent on who.
Now, it's typically always been on the defensive line, so we can basically predict on the defensive line who it's going to be.
That's true.
I'm going to say it's not Michael. You know, he's already had his one. Nick Bosa already had his one. Um,
What if it's Osa?
huh?
What if it's Osa? That'd be a
Uh,
terrible,
that would be so
terrible.
devastating. It better not be Osa. Uh, I'm going to predict it's going to be Alfred Collins, man.
No, man, no.
I hope it's not, but that's going to be my prediction. Alfred Collins is going to tear his ACL at the Giant Stadium.
That that
That's my prediction.
that is
I
true though,
I hope it
because
doesn't come true, but that's my prediction.
I mean, bro, like we had Solomon Thomas, that was at MetLife.
Yeah.
Bosa
Yeah.
at
You know,
MetLife.
it's literally always been the defensive line.
Like,
So it's practically 100% win hit rate if you just do the defensive line.
yeah, and that being week 13 as well, like later in the season, right in the midst of that like week 12 to 17 tough ass stretch that we have.
Yeah, that's why it's
Just
devastating. It's
praying
going
we
to be really
don't.
bad on the joints. And then I feel like even if no one gets injured at New York, the game after is where I'd be more concerned. Because yeah.
Yeah,
And then oh my God, see, then we play the Rams and the Chargers, and we play the Chargers on Thursday night. So
the
yeah,
NFL,
it's devastating.
the NFL did not do us any favors scheduling wise in terms of rest. I mean, like
No. I
we
mean,
played,
technically it's better than last. I think last season we had way worse rest.
yeah, we did
Um,
like almost 2 weeks worse.
yeah. Yeah.
But even like the Australia trip, like we're playing on Thursday, flying back probably on that Friday. They're probably not going to be practicing again until like Sunday, knowing the duration of that flight, unless they
Yep.
literally leave right after the game.
Yep.
Um, and then we're playing again on Sunday, obviously. Meanwhile, the Rams, we didn't even get the Sunday night football slot. They couldn't even give us a few more hours. We're gonna have a midday game, and that's definitely not going to be fun.
No.
A lot of the away games that we're playing too are early in the morning, right at 10 a.m. Um, Definitely not doing us any favors in terms of the amount of miles we're going to be traveling.
Nope.
Definitely with our injury history, it's not something we want to be, worried about per se, but
Yeah,
there's not much we can
exactly.
do about it at this point.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Looking forward to the season. We'll talk more about like training camp stuff when that starts riling up or when that starts picking up, and
Hmm.
we'll talk about some of the players that are impressing, some of the players that are not impressing, and we'll do that. But thank you everyone for joining. This is the Niner Empire Show, and we'll see you next time.